Alright, what is up guys? Houndish here. We have the weekly reset for Destiny 2 and it's the 11th of November. That is the week where the Call to Arms event begins, so basically we are at the end of the season now. And the new event that we have this week kind of acts as a seasonal catch-up, so if there is any gear that you want to catch up on, specific weapons you want to focus for, indeed, power leveling and all that kind of stuff, the event kicking off is a pretty good way to get up to speed before we head into Renegades. There'll also be some packages and things which will actually accelerate our progress in the next expansion slightly, so we're going to round up exactly how all of this works and how you can get things like this crazy flaming mohawk helmet ornament that's a competitive reward for the event. So we'll touch on all of that, but additionally we get a patch today, so we'll cover any patch notes that we can, as well as vendor inventories, featured activities, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you guys find the video helpful, a rating really does help me out on the channel. Be sure as well to hit subscribe if you want to be kept up to date with everything related to the next content drop in Renegades, but otherwise let's get into it. And so we'll get into patch notes and vendor things in just a moment, but we'll start out with Call to Arms and precisely how it's all working. Festival of the Lost has now concluded, that's the first thing. So with a bit of luck, we'll be seeing it return in 2026, but as we can see, this week marks the arrival of Call to Arms, so it's basically an end-of-season event. Devrim K is now in the tower, and it's got some quests and things to get us started. On top of that, there is an event reward track, so there are a bunch of items here, cosmetics, including the new Malpais ornament, and a handful of other things, so you can check those out in the event track. Some of them are pretty cool, and we basically just play during the event to actually level up this track and get the rewards. But additionally, with this kind of serving as a season catch-up in a way, you'll notice Devrim has attunement for Call to Arms weapons. These are basically a selection of Season 28 weapons. I believe they have the same roles as their original versions. A couple of them haven't actually been available since Ash and Iron dropped with the rally event or whatever it was called in that first week where it came out, so some of these players probably don't have too many good roles of yet, but these weapons have their hollow foil variants and all of that, and it's basically, like we said, more of a catch-up than anything else. But additionally, Devrim will be seeing daily shipments of gear, so what would participate, signing in on a daily basis, should essentially give us some extra or nearly free rewards. On top of that, there'll be packages called Lawless Vouchers, and these can be used in Renegades to get a head start, so they include new gear, and there's a boost in there as well that grants a consumable every time we open 4 of these packages that guarantees a prime engram upon the next activity completion. So if you're playing this in a very casual capacity, there's boosted rewards and accelerated progress, I guess, overall. Keep in mind Bungie are not raising the power level in Renegades, so getting more power now, obviously, is a bit of an advantage. But Call to Arms also has a competitive component, so Bungie say the competition asks Guardians to compete against each other for high scores in any or all of 5 different portal activities. Then at the end of the event, Guardians will receive prestigious prizes based on their final competitive standing in each of the activities. And the featured activities include Heliostat, the Coil, Salt Mines, Proving Grounds, and then Cutting Edge Zone Control, and Bungie have said there's no restriction on loadouts in any of these activities with the exception of Cutting Edge Zone Control, which does require a full set of new gear. And we basically need to get the highest score possible in these activities, then we'll be awarded competitor points based on how the score that we get compares to scores as a percentile of all other Guardians. So the total number of competitor points we earn will determine the rewards at the end of the event. And Bungie said, to put it in perspective, Guardians who can earn a top 10% score for 2 of the 5 Call to Arms activities will earn enough competitor points to be eligible for the new Universal Helmet ornament. So if you're a solo player, obviously you'll want to target things like Salt Mines, maybe Proving Grounds, and if you can get a very high score in those activities, in the top 10%, which is actually indicated in game, then at the end of the event you'll get things like the helmet ornament, as well as a new transmat shader, and some emblems. So they also add the best Guardians scoring up to top 1% in just one activity will also have enough competitor points to be eligible for that same reward. So again, if you play solo and you wanted to do Salt Mines, if you can post a score that's in the top 1%, you'll get access to these rewards, but I believe they'll actually be given out on the final week of the event, the week before Renegades, in something called Celebration Week. So that's the basics of how it works if you wanted the overview. There isn't really much else to actually give a guide on, to be fair. Daily rewards, packages at Devrim, weapon attunement, a good opportunity for a catch-up, and the competitive element as well, for those who want to try and get the helmet ornament. Basically, just post the highest scores you possibly can in as many of those activities, and you should have a reasonable chance of getting the exclusive items. So let us know down below if you're going to be jumping in. I will keep you posted with any important updates and things, but otherwise I think that just about sums it all up. Next up though, we've got the patch notes for the update today. They're pretty brief, but Bungie say they made scoring adjustments to the Liminality Fireteam op to make it easier to reach 10,000 in activity score, and the activity has now been re-enabled, so That's good. Otherwise, in Desert Perpetual, they fixed a problem where the skimmed surface sparrow could not be claimed, and players need to complete the NE plus Ultra Triumph to earn the sparrow. Anyone who's already completed the Triumph will be able to pull the sparrow directly from collections. Plus, they fixed the problem where players attuning epic raid weapons could receive armor for alternate classes. So, a couple of small fixes there. Just keep in mind, if you should be eligible for this sparrow, then hopefully you can grab it from collections now. Otherwise, that does it for the patch notes today. Next up though, let's take a look at the Eververse store for the week. Don't forget to grab your free Bright Dust. Of course, it's not festival now, so finally we get some other things featured. We'll focus on Bright Dust items as always. We have the Peace by the Water exotic emote available for 3,250 Bright Dust, back from the era of fishing in Destiny 2. There's also the Arthurian Tail available here, which is a pretty cool legendary emote. That one's 700 Bright Dust. And then we have the Battle Worn Shell for 2,850 Bright Dust right here, which is pretty interesting. Otherwise, there is the Paraversal Singularity Transman effect up for 450 Bright Dust on the front page right there. And for front page shaders, we initially have a Gamekeeper. Of course, these cost 300 Bright Dust. Additionally, though, there is the Aquatic Iridescence, which is quite a bright one. I'd almost forgot about the existence of some of these things. Over to the main Bright Dust section though, we have Them's the Breaks exotic multiplayer emote for 4,250 Bright Dust right there, which is pretty interesting. Otherwise, we've got class items from the armor sets in the store this season. That one's 1,200 Bright Dust. And then we have the Indigo Strider Shell right here, exotic ghost, new for this season. That one is 2,850 Bright Dust. Another new one, which is the Cyclogenesis, if I'm saying that correctly. That one is 2,000 Bright Dust. Pretty cool. Additionally, there is the Tachyostriga exotic sparrow. So we're getting some of the kind of exotic loot-themed bits and bobs here. This is actually a pretty cool sparrow, to be fair. New for the season once again for 2,500 Bright Dust. And then we have the Stave of Snow ornament for Aegis Scepter for 1,250 Bright Dust, which is a pretty cool one. Again, new for this season. I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't a Dawning thing. Or is it a Dawning thing? It's got the new season icon on it. Not sure. Otherwise, there is the Ursa Minor Ghost Projection up for 1,500 Bright Dust. And then for the second page of shaders, we've got the purple one that I can't say the name of from back in the Forsaken era, but it's quite nice. Otherwise, there is Iridescent Coral. Once again, all of these are 300 Bright Dust. Moving along, there is Grayscale Undergrowth as well. And finally for shaders, we have Circadian Chill, which is another pretty nice one with certain armor sets. And then we've got Only the Finest, Illicit Transman effects, and Inflorescence as the featured Transman effects for 450 Bright Dust. So there we go. That's the Eververse store. And let us know in the comment section if you plan to grab anything. Our final mention for vendors this week, just because it's a tradition, we'll go visit Darth Shader 1, who's preparing for Renegades down here. Not literally, or maybe, who knows. We've got Season of Plunder sets of armor, if you wanted to add those to collections for ornament purposes. And then for shaders, we have Valkyrie 0. I'm not sure this one's come up at Ada previously, from back in the Warmind era. That's cool. Also, there is Arctic Dreamscape from back on Mars, I believe, back in the day. These are 10,000 Glimmer, of course. And finally, New Monarchy Succession, if you are after any of the older faction shaders. For today, guys, that is everything we have to round up in this video, though. So, as always, I hope you found it helpful. And if you have, a rating really does help me out on the channel. Be sure as well to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more content. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.